Hello everyone, welcome to this revision video for DSC 18 Women's Writing and English Semester 6 Delhi University. Today we are going to cover all 6 suggested readings, their summaries, major arguments and the most important quotes you need to know for your exams. Let's begin. पहला टेक्स्ट है सिमोन दे बुआ का द सेकंड सेक्स जो 1949 में पब्लिश हुआ. दिस इज अ फाउंडेशनल टेक्स्ट फॉर फेमिनिस्ट philosophy, one of the most important books ever written about women. The book argues that humanity has always been defined as male. Man is a subject, the absolute, while women is designated to the position of the other. This other status is not natural or biological. Boy is very clear. Women are made inferior, not born inferior. He criticized biology, Freudian psychoanalysis, and Marxism for failing to fully explain this. In Volume 2, she shows how childhood conditioning turns a free girl into a passive woman. Marriage and motherhood trap women within the domestic sphere in the mindless repetition while men enjoy endless freedom. बोआ का major argument यह है कि womanhood एक social construction है. Women का inferior status biology, psychology, economics में नहीं होता. इसे patriarchal समाज, ideology और culture ने बनाया है. Liberation requires economic independence and the freedom to pursue whatever the soul desires. Boa's most famous line and the possibly most quoted line in the feminist history: one is not born but rather becomes women. The single sentence dismantles the idea of natural femininity. Second key quote: he is the subject, he is the absolute, she is the other. This captures the entire power dynamic of the text. Third, humanity is male and the man defines women not in herself but in the relation to himself. Woman has no independent identity. She is always defined by her relation to the men. Text 2 is Uma Chakravarti's essay, Conceptualizing Brahmanical Patriarchy in Early India. This is crucial because it brings an Indian perspective to the feminist theory, showing us the caste and gender are not separate systems. Chakravartis argued that in the Brahmanical social order, controlling women's sexuality was essential, not just for the male dominance, but specifically to maintain caste purity. Because caste status is bilateral, inherited from both parents, a woman's sexual purity determined the caste purity of her entire family. The key quotes. First, caste hierarchy and gender hierarchy are the organizing principle of the Brahmanical social order. Second, women are regarded as gateways, literally points of the entrance into the caste system. Third, and this is brilliant, Pativrata, the ideological parda of the Hindu women, was the mask by which the hierarchical structure was reproduced, with the complicity of women. Note the word complicity. Women were not just oppressed, they were made to participate in their own oppression. Text 3 is Virginia Woolf's A Rome of One's Own, published in 1929. Woolf wrote, this is as a series of lectures for women's colleges at Cambridge. So she is literally speaking to women about why women cannot write. Woolf's central thesis is simple but require hard work. A woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Why? Because intellectual freedom depends on material conditions. Woolf contrasts the luxury of male colleges built on centuries of wealth with the poverty of women's colleges. She then imagined Judith Shakespeare, Shakespeare's fictional gifted sister. While William goes to London and becomes famous, Judith is kept home to the course. When she finally runs away, she is mocked, gets pregnant, and kills herself. The point is that any woman of genius in the 16th century would have been destroyed by social conditions. It also introduces the looking glass theory. Women serve as mirror that reflect men at twice their size, giving men the confidence to rule. Finally, she advocates for the androgynous mind. It is fatal for a writer to think only about their sex. Key quotes. The thesis: a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Then the looking glass quote. Women have served all these centuries as looking glasses, possessing the magic power of reflecting the figure of a man at twice its natural size. And crucially, intellectual freedom depends upon material things. Women have always been poor. Not for 200 years, but from the beginning of time. Text 4. Text 4 is the introduction of Ellen Showalter's A Literature of Their Own. Showalter is the founder of gynocriticism, the study of women's writing as a distinct tradition. Showalter's goal is to draw a reliable map of British women's writing, not just the famous peaks like Austen, the Brontes, and Eliot, Woolf, but the entire landscape in between. She argues that a women writer from a literary subculture united by a shared physical experience, for example, puberty or pregnancy, social constraint, and a covert solidarity. Her most famous contribution is that three faces framework. Feminine face, 1840 to 1880, women imitate men, use male pseudonyms. Feminist face, 1880 to 1920, protest and the demands for autonomy. Female face, 1920 present, self-discovery finding an authentic female voice and aesthetic. She also argues that the great tendencialism, reducing women's writing to a few genesis, is wrong because it erases the minor writer who were essential links between generations. Key quote. First, the famous Atlas metaphor. In the Atlas of the English novel, women's territory is usually depicted as a desert bounded by mountains on four sides. The Austin Peaks, the Bronte Cliff, the Elliot Range, and the Wolf's High. Second, the lost continent of the female tradition has risen like Atlantis from the sea of English literature, a brilliant image. Third, women themselves has constituted a subculture within the framework of a larger society. Text 5 is Louis Irigaray, When the Goods Get Together. Fair warning. This is the most theoretical text. Irigaray is a French feminist philosopher working in a psychoanalytic and Marxist framework. But once you understand the central metaphor, it clicks. Irigaray's central argument is the patriarchal society is organized like a market, but a market where only men are buyers and sellers, and women are the goods being exchanged. Everything, science, currencies, property, and women, passes from one man to another. She calls this foundation of culture homosexual, not in a sexual sense, but because all economic and social management is conducted by men or for men. Women exist only as mediators or transaction between men. She criticized Freud for only understanding female desire through a male template. The essay ends with a utopian vision. What if the goods, the women, refuse to go to the market? What if they establish their own economy? What if they establish their own economy? An economy of abundance, free enjoyment, exchange without possession. Some major quotes from her essay are: first, the trade that organizes patriarchal societies takes place exclusively among men. Women, science, goods, currency all pass from one man to another. Second, women exist only as the possibility of mediation, transaction, transition between men and his fellow creatures. And the utopian quote, but what if the goods refuse to go to the market? Exchange without identifiable terms of trade, without accounts, without end. The last quote is the title of the essay. It is the revolutionary possibility Irigaray is imagining. Text 6 is Mary Wollstonecraft, A Vindication of Right of Women, published in 1792. This is the oldest text in the syllabus and arguably the beginning of modern feminist thought. Wollstonecraft was writing in the middle of the French Revolution, which was talking about the liberty and the rights of women. She said, what about women? Wollstonecraft's core argument is simple and powerful. Women appear inferior not because they are inferior, but because they have been denied education. She argues women are rational creatures capable of the same reason, virtue, and the moral judgment as men. She attacks Rousseau's educational model, which was designed to make women pretty and pleasing, not rational. She says women are taught from infancy that beauty is women's captor. The mind shapes itself to the body and the body becomes a cage. She insists there is only one standard of virtue. It is not gendered. Her solution is national co-education. Boys and girls educate together so women can become enlightened citizens who can earn their own living. She concludes with a direct challenge to men: give us our right, and we will be better daughters, sisters, wives, and mothers. First, the thesis by main argument is built on the simple principle that if she be not prepared by education to become the companion of men, she will stop the progress of knowledge and virtue. Again, taught from their infancy that beauty is women's capture, the mind shapes itself to the body, and roaming round its guilt cage only seeks to adorn its prison. Third, the conclusion. Would men but generously snaps our chains? They would find us more observant daughters, more affectionate sisters, more faithful wives, more reasonable mothers. Note that tone. She is not angry. She is reasoning with men. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap. We started with De Bois. Women is the other. Womanhood is a social construction. Then Chakravarti, in India, caste and gender are inseparable. Women are gateways. Then Woolf. Women need money and a room to write. Intellectual freedom is material. Then Showalter, who asserts that women have a literary subculture with three faces: feminine, feminist, and female. Then Irigaray, who mentions women are good exchange between men. Revolution comes when the goods refuse to go to the market. And finally, Wollstonecraft, who asserts that women's inferiority is not natural. They need only education and rights to prosper. In your answers, always connect the key to its key concept first, then quote, then analyze. Remember, all these writers are arguing that women's operation is made, not born. That is the thread connecting Wollstonecraft in 1792 to Irigaray in the 1970s. If you can see that thread, you understand the course. That's all for today. I hope this video helped you understand 6 texts clearly. If it did, please like and share it with your classmates. It really helps. Best of luck. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe. The detailed notes will be in the description box.